We're sitting here by the lovely fire at the Brook. We know we're on a downswing. We need a win. What do? When we're on a downswing, we have to drop back down in stakes. There's a juicy 2-5 game going on right now that I want to play in, but we're being disciplined tonight. We only have $500. We're buying in for all of it at the 1-2 tables. Hopefully we can run up a stack. We're gonna get in there, play very tight, trying to play just pure 3-better fold from everywhere but the big blind. Stay aggressive, on the front foot, and we need to just book a win, man. I'll see you on the other side, guys. As promised, we're in for 500 at the 1-2 table. And our first hand of the night, we pick up Queen 10 offsuit on the button. There's an MP limp. We're going to isolate up to $15, trying to play heads up in position against a weak capped range. We're going to get to do that, but not against MP. The big blind is actually going to call, and the limper folds. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments, but I feel like people defend their big blind with pretty similar hands that people limp call with. The MP had a limping and an opening range, and I feel like the hands middle position would open are the same hands that the big blind would 3-bet. Let me know what you guys think about that. We're going to c-bet for 1/3 on 7-4-4 rainbow. Just going to be doing this with range on this low connected board. The big blind calls, and the turn is another 7, completing the rainbow. The big blind is now going to lead for $20. Now I think sometimes the big blind can have a full house here, but the rest of the time he's going to have a full house. So there's not really much we can do. Can't even try and bluff this one. We let it go and we lose our first pot of the night. This next hand isn't exciting at all, but it's a nice reminder and maybe a little bit of a lesson to be paying attention to the other players at your table. We are going to be in the hijack for this one. Playing 7-handed, the under the gun player is going to put in the limp, and then the low jack puts in the raise to $15. Now we have 6-7 suited, very pretty hand to look down at. A lot of players' instinct is to snap call with this hand. Some might even be tempted to 3-bet. I know I am. However, the low jack player who opened had been limping a lot. So when players have an open limping range, what does it mean when they raise? Well, it's going to mean that they're going to have a lot of stronger hands. And the low jack only started this hand around $175 effective. Typically with suited connectors, you want to be able to win 25 or more times the raise size when you make your hand, which means that the low jack should at least have $325 for us to consider making this call. I think 6 months ago, I'm pretty much always calling here. And I think 2 months ago, I'm pretty much always 3-betting here. But I decided to make the disciplined play and I actually fold. This hand goes to showdown and the low jack player turns over pocket aces. So always important to be vigilant and pay attention to the players at your table. I'd only been playing with this guy for about 30 minutes at this point, so glad I was able to pick up on this. Moving right along here, we're going to be in the big blind. The low jack is open to $15. There's a cutoff call, a button call, and a small blind call. We peel ace king of diamonds in the big blind. This is already a prime squeezing spot, and we have a top 5% hand, so of course going to be squeezing it up here. I decided to go for a size of $85. I honestly could even go a little bit larger. I don't expect to be running into the top of range a lot from anybody except perhaps the low jack. But when he pretty quickly folds, I feel very confident I have the best hand. Cutoff player actually thinks for quite a while about his decision, not quite sure what he could have to be thinking this long. But eventually he folds, the button pretty quickly folds behind, as does the small blind. Not an exciting pot. I didn't do anything special in this hand. However, picking up $60 in a 1-2 game without seeing a flop is pretty good. It's also the first pot we won of the night. Nice to pick up a little bit of momentum. For the next hand, the $5 straddle is on, and we are in the cutoff when we get dealt our favorite hand in poker, Jack Queen. I've seen some of you guys attack me in the comments for this being my favorite hand. First of all, I'm not a lunatic. Of course, I prefer when it's suited. And secondly, I'm interested to find out what your guys' favorite hand is, so leave it in the comments below. And if you're already down there commenting, you might as well like the video and subscribe to the channel. I make it $20 over a limper. The big blind is going to stick around and put in the call, as is the straddle. And the limper makes this a 4-way pot. So we're going 4 ways in position with $80 in the middle. Hoping to see a flop with a couple clubs on it, but I've talked to some residents of New Hampshire and they've all said the same thing, that the nightlife is not that great. There's no clubs in sight. The flop comes 7-4 deuce with 2 spades. Right color, wrong suit. Probably just going to check back and give up if it's checked to me. But we don't get the chance when the straddle now leads for $60. Nothing to do here but fold. Hopefully, with your favorite hand, you guys hit the flop a little bit harder than I just did. I think I played this next hand pretty poorly, and I want to tell you guys why. It starts off with us having ace-queen offsuit in the hijack. The low-jack player to my right has limped. I'm going to try and ISO him. I raise it up to $15. It folds to the button, who's going to put in the 3-bet up to $45. And when it folds back around to me, we have our first decision point of the hand. In game, I thought about all three options. If you pull up the solver, for 250 big blinds effective, which we are, an 8 max with a live 10% rake, opening 7x, which is right about where I opened to, you can see when the button 3-bets, our response is supposed to be to just pure fold ace-queen offsuit, but that just felt a little bit too nitty for this game. I just mentioned how I hadn't seen him 3-bet yet, so I didn't feel like I was going to be ahead very often. I felt like he was going to have pairs like 9s plus, as well as ace-king and maybe some ace-queen suited, so I didn't really want to pile in a lot of money against that range. In real time, I didn't really like 4-betting, I didn't really like folding, so I kind of just defaulted to calling. But I think this is pretty bad. I don't want to play a 3-bet pot out of position. So I think the better play here is to 4-bet as a bluff. I think when we put in the 4-bet with ace-queen offsuit, when we face a 5-bet, we can very comfortably fold. And if the button decides to call, then we get to play against a very condensed range and exert a lot of pressure on him. But I already told you I misplayed this hand, so of course that's not what I come with. I come with call in the moment, so we're out of position in a 3-bet pot with $90 in the middle. And the flop is pretty good for ace-queen offsuit. It comes queen high, queen, 4, 3, rainbow. I check it on over to him, and he decides to go for a small c-bet of $40. It's a little bit above 1/3 pot. We're still losing to hands like aces, kings, and queens. I don't see much reason to raise. If he has a hand like ace-king, want him to possibly continue barreling, or allow him to make an ace on the turn and cooler him. And if he has a hand like 9s, 10s, or jacks, we're way ahead. So again, not really any reason to raise. I stick in the call. Still heads up to a turn, which is the 9 of hearts. Pocket 9s now takes the lead from us. We're going to check it on over to him again, and he pretty quickly checks it back. The river is the 3 of hearts, pairs the board, and now we have a decision to make. I think most likely he has a hand like 10s, jacks, or ace-king, and I think if we check, those hands are all just going to check back and take their showdown value. So I definitely want to pick a size targeting that range. I didn't feel like this player was the type to hero call with ace-king if we went very small. So I think the best play here is to bet a size that targets jacks and 10s. Oftentimes when players check back the turn, it is for pot control, so that they can call a bet of a more manageable size on the river. So I decide to go fairly large. I go for a 2/3 size of $110, targeting jacks and 10s. If he did check back a hand, like an overpair or possibly a set on the turn, we can pretty comfortably fold to a raise. But he's not thinking about a raise. He pretty quickly calls. He doesn't look too happy about it. We turn over our ace-queen. The button is a very nice guy. He's a vlog watcher, and he's nice enough to let us know that he had pocket jacks. So we end up winning nearly $200 in this hand here. But I think if I could go back, I would 4-bet pre-flop. For the reasons that I mentioned before, it's important to criticize not only the hands that you lose, but also the ones that you're winning. So we probably made the wrong play, but we got the right result. It always feels nice when you're right with your hand reading. And this is a pretty nice pot to take down early on. Before we start this next hand, I want to show you a little bit of a ritual that I do with my card protector. First of all, you spin it, and when it lands on your cards, you're always going to pick up a good hand. Evidence here when we have ace-king offsuit in the big blind. Just kidding, of course, I'm not really superstitious like that, but I am a little stitious. The hijack is raised to $15. It's folded around to the small blind who puts in the call. We have another good squeeze spot in the big blind with ace-king. I go ahead and bump it up here. I choose a size that's probably, again, a little bit too small. I'm going to choose $60. In game, I went for 3x plus the dead caller, but out of position should probably be closer to 4 or even 5x. I make it 60. Probably prefer anywhere from $75 to $95. Nevertheless, the hijack calls, the small blind gets out of the way, and we get to tango with the same player from the last hand. His name is Leo, as I mentioned, very nice guy. If you're paying attention, you can see the cutoff, pick his phone up, and try and get a better angle of the board for us. Maybe we've inspired him to start his own vlog. That would be a little bit strange though, since he's not in this hand. Speaking of this hand, the flop comes ace-queen 3, all clubs. I think betting a small size like 1/3 pot is fine, but I'm going to be checking a lot out of position, especially on these monotone boards, so I decide to slip in a check with one of the stronger parts of my range. He pretty quickly checks it back, and the turn is now the king of spades. This is a really good card for us if he has a high club, although I do think he would bet off the king of clubs often when checked to. Nevertheless, I still think we have to get value. It's pretty hard for him to call light on the turn on this triple Broadway board, so I don't think a small size accomplishes much. I size up to $85. He thinks about it for a little bit, but raises the same concern that I raised earlier, which is that there's not enough clubs in New Hampshire. He certainly doesn't have one. He lays it down. It's a friendly game. He was nice enough to show us earlier that he had jacks, so I show him the ace of spades before putting it in the muck. Raking in another pot, building a little bit of momentum. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. I love making content for you guys. And the more that you support me, the faster I can get content back out to you guys. For this next hand, we have ace 10 of strawberries in the hijack. I heard hearts referred to as strawberries the other day, and I quite liked it. I'm sure you guys will let me know how much you dislike it in the comments section. I make eye contact with the under the gun player and ask if he's prepared to let me take him down because I'm going to the strawberry fields where we grab red strawberry chips, 7 of them to be exact, and put out a small 3-bet to $35. I'm honestly not quite sure where the strawberry fields are, but I'm hoping they're somewhere near Value Town and not near Stuckville. The under the gun player says that nothing is real, especially not these clay discs in front of him. He throws in an additional 5 strawberry chips, and we're going to go heads up in position to a flop, which comes out 4-4-3 rainbow. We have a backdoor heart draw. He checks it on over to us. We don't have a pair, but that doesn't really matter because betting is easy with eyes closed. I go for $25, around 1/3 pot. It's getting hard for the under the gun to be someone who could put me on a hand because he seems confused of how I've connected with the 4-4-3 flop, but then he remembers in the strawberry fields, there's nothing to be hung up about. He quickly folds. Doesn't seem like the strawberry fields are quite in Value Town, probably somewhere near Seabrook Square. Either way, we're gonna win the pot. Comment below what your favorite Beatles song is. If we keep winning with the strawberries, then Strawberry Fields is probably gonna become mine. Here's another hand that I don't think I played great. Limp and Larry on the button puts in $2. We have Queen 4 suited in the small blind. I decide to complete. Probably should just isolate the limper, and folding is probably fine as well. The big blind checks his options, so we're going 3 ways out of position in an insanely large $6 pot, which comes out great for us. It's Queen 3 with 2 diamonds. I check. I'm not really sure if I like a lead or not, but the big blind bets $5. The button calls, and I decide to put in the call as well. 3 ways still to a turn, which comes the 8 of hearts. I check once again. The big blind goes for $15. And the button is going to flat once more. When it's back on us, we have trips. It's a pretty good hand, and I think the button calls a little bit too much. So my first instinct is that I want to put more money in, but I probably should pause to consider what the big blind has bet 2 streets with in a limp pot. It's more likely than not that he has a queen, and we don't beat any queens other than queen deuce. So I actually go for the raise here. I make it $50 to go. The big blind pretty quickly calls, and the button player thinks about it as well before he sticks in the call. This is when I realize, oh crap, this turn raise is way too thin, and we are most likely behind now. The river comes out the 9 of clubs. I decide to check, honestly, quite possibly planning on check folding, but luckily for us, the big blind checks as well, and the button checks it back. We roll over the Queen 4, to see that we got very lucky on the river because the big blind had Queen 5. We're going to chop up the button's money. If I could go back, I might just ISO this pre-flop and definitely wouldn't raise the turn. I get very lucky on the river, and we get away with one here. Exactly 1 orbit later, we're back in the small blind with pocket 7s. The low jack is raised it up to $10, and the button has called. I see some dead money from the button, and I don't think players in this game are 4-betting enough to punish me when I 3-bet 7s from the small blind. So I'm going to stay aggressive, and I make it $50 to go. The low jack thinks about it for quite some time. It's pretty hard for me to be 3-betting here without a real hand, because the button only has around $60 left in his stack. Perhaps the low jack has caught onto this because eventually he's going to fold. The button's had a pretty unfortunate run of cards. His stack has gone from over $300 down to around $55 in just a couple of orbits, and he's had enough. He's taking a stand. He sticks the rest of his chips in the middle. We snap him. He lets us know that he already has a pair when he rolls over pocket 5s. It's good news for us. We just need to hold in a pot over $100. I say a little prayer to Luka Doncic before the dealer deals out the flop extra slow for extra drama, and it comes King 9 deuce with 2 hearts. The repeat deuce on the turn is no help to our friend, and the king on the river is going to seal it. We're going to stack the 7 seat. With him leaving, we're now playing a 6-handed poker game, which is my favorite format. But more importantly than that, we get to stack some chips and rake in another pot. We pick up action on this next hand a little bit late, but you have to trust me that we defended a cutoff open to $10 with Queen 10 offsuit, and we flop top pair on 10-7-4 two-tone. We've checked it on over to the cutoff, who's going to c-bet for half pot $10. In general, from what I've seen, players love to default into this half pot sizing sometimes when they're not quite sure what to do, whereas they typically just go a bit larger with value. So I stick in the call, and we're heads up to a turn, which comes the deuce of clubs. It brings in a backdoor flush draw. I don't think this is a turn we ever get leads on, so I decide to check it on over once again, and once more the cutoff bets for half pot. I think folding is far too nitty, and raising might be overplaying our hand a bit, so I decide to put in the call and play some 5th Street chicken with him, make him fire that 3rd barrel, hoping for a brick river that the cutoff will shut down on, but it's not a brick, it's the ace of diamonds. This of course is going to be a better card for the cutoff pre-flop raiser, so I check it on over to him for a 3rd time, and he does decide to reach into his chip stack and go for the elusive triple barrel. He cuts out chips and slides forward $55. And you can hear my gut reaction to this bet.
You have a better hand than I do, I think.
The cutoff has now increased his bet from the autopilot half pot sizing and gone for about 2/3. And he's also bet all 3 streets, which is notoriously underbluffed. At these stakes, I don't think players are finding enough triple barrels. Additionally, the queen of spades in our hand isn't great because we're blocking some of his missed flush draws. So I have a little hand funeral before I slide my cards into the muck. The cutoff was a very nice guy. His name is Leo. He's nice enough to show me the ace of spades. Either way, this isn't the most incredible fold, but it's still important to stay disciplined. And I think this is the right fold in theory as well. This next hand is probably one of the most interesting ones we play tonight. We have ace-5 suited in the small blind, the premier bluff shoving hand. There's a low jack limp, and the cutoff decides to isolate him with a raise to $16. I just said how good it is for bluffing. The reason for this is we can make strong hands like nut flushes and wheels, and we also have the ace of spades in our hand, which blocks our opponent from having top of range like aces and ace-king as frequently. Of course, we go for the 3-bet. We make it $50. I've been 3-betting quite a lot today, and perhaps the cutoff has picked up on that because he pretty quickly gathers some chips and he sticks in a 4-bet. Now, I do have the vlogger discount coupon, so the 4-bet's only to $100. We're getting a great price to call. If I had more courage, I would 5-bet maybe around $250, but I'm a scared little boy, and I haven't seen this player even 3-bet, let alone 4-bet. However, I do have intel from a friend who is at the poker room that occasionally this player will be in the mood to punt chips in the middle, so I decided to put in the call. We're out of position in a pot that is already $200, and we are looking for a very specific flop, preferably one with some spades on it. The dealer puts down 3 and fans out ace, 8, 3. We make top pair, but we have no backdoor flush draw, and a lot of his range will have better ace-x like ace-king or ace-queen suited. I'm never leading in a 4-bet pot here, so I decide to check, and he pretty quickly checks it back. The turn is the 4 of clubs. We pick up a gut shot. I decide to check one more time, and he pretty quickly checks it back for a second time. When he does this, I don't think he'll ever have ace-king or ace-queen. I think he always has a hand like kings, queens, possibly jacks or tens. And so when the river is the ace of clubs, I think this is a terrific card for us. Not because it improves our relative hand strength to trips, but because we've already ruled him out from having an ace with his flop and turn action, and we think he just has a lot of underpairs in his range. This second ace coming out is going to make those hands want to call a lot more. In game, I chose to bet a size that is a little bit smaller to try and get calls from his entire range, including lower pairs like jacks and tens. My fear in the moment was if I went too large, he may consider hero folding a hand like jacks or queens, thinking I might have kings. But if I could have this bet back, I would probably size up to around $150, $175. I slide out 75. He doesn't look like he likes it all that much, but he pretty quickly calls. We turn over ace-5 suited. It is, of course, the best hand. He rolls over red pocket tens. So we got a little bit wide with the 4-bet there. Perhaps he figures we can't always have the goods when we 3-bet. And on this occasion, he was right, but we get a very, very fortunate run out in order to get paid off on the river. We definitely got a little bit of luck on our side for this hand. But again, if I could have it back, I would definitely go larger on the river. With that, our stack climbs up across the 4-figure mark. We've run really, really well tonight and made some big hands and some big pots. Some players are leaving. The game's not quite as good as it once was. I decided that doubling up and winning a buy-in is more than enough profit for me tonight. I decided to rack up and call it a session. session today. In for 5, out for 1,000. Thank God. Finally booked a winning session. And now, have a little drink and enjoy ourselves a little bit. Just want to let you guys know how creepy this dude is. If you don't know, this is Dookie Betts, good friend of mine, fellow poker vlogger. Go check out his stuff if you haven't already. But I texted him that I was coming up to play this session, and he texted me back, good luck. And when I get there, he's already sitting down at a different table. It genuinely took me 5 minutes of being in the room before I noticed he was there. Like, what a weirdo. Also, side note, if you are the woman who recognized us and asked to take a picture, I think your name is Kim. Please DM me that photo on Instagram at JQPoker on there. It's probably a legendary photo. I'd like to make it my profile picture. Congratulations again, Kim, on your 40-year wedding anniversary. And I hope you and your husband enjoyed your time that night at Kittens. It's a nice little session. I like this little fireside chat we got going on. I mean, just have a look at this raging fire. How gorgeous is that? I mean, oh my goodness. Like, the ambiance here is incredible. It's a weird little room, but definitely the aesthetic and the vibe is there. If you guys have made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your continued support. I have a couple of very exciting announcements for you guys. The first one, you guys are probably used to. Come play with me on Club GG. Message at JQPoker on Instagram to get involved with that. Got a lot of weak players in those games and a lot of referral bonuses and deposit bonuses. So some free money for you guys there. The second is if you want some poker swag, but you don't want it to scream, I'm a degenerate gambler, right? Something you can wear at the tables, but also like at home with mom and dad, or maybe grandma and grandpa, then check out Sun Run Apparel. They do really high quality stuff. Their sweatshirts and t-shirts are like amazing. I live in this sweatshirt as well. They got some new designs coming on the way. Super soft material. If you use my discount code, which will be in the bio, I'll put it up right here as well. You can get extra 10% off at checkout. So definitely go check them out. Third one, or I guess third one, I don't know. Put in the comment sections which way you do your threes, but the third one that I want to tell you guys about is for a poker bankroll tracker app called Left Pocket. First of all, if you're not already tracking your poker results, I mean, what are you doing? Like, it's super essential to know if you're winning or losing across what stakes. So you should definitely be tracking your poker results. And if you want to track it in like a seamless, easy to look at, nice visual app, then you should check out Left Pocket. It's on the App Store. There's a free version, but I have a discount code JQPoker3. I'll put it up here. That gets you 3 months of their free premium version. The reason that I really like it is because not only does it have all the really cool metrics like big blind per 100, dollars per hour, it'll tell you if you're winning across different stakes at different locations. You could also set in custom locations as well. It has the pre-built in casino ones, or let's say you're playing a cool home game, or let's say you're playing in one that they don't have, you can put that in there manually. You can put in pictures and stuff. It's really cool. They have widget integrated technology. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a software designer, but you can put the widget right on your home screen. It also pops up on your lock screen like while you're playing. But other bankroll tracker apps might do that, but the reason that Left Pocket is new and exciting and something that I am happy to support is because they have a health integration model. It'll send you reminders like, hey, is the game still good? Which I know for me is a big issue. Sometimes I just play until the game breaks, but you really should just be evaluating like every half hour or so, like, is this game still good and profitable to be in? So if you know anything about me and my personal life, I'm big into health, physical, and emotional wellness. And if you're into that too, or you just want to improve your poker game, this app can definitely help you. There is sleep tracking data integration that'll tell you like, hey, you're well rested or maybe not, and that'll compare that sleep data with your results. So let's say you got 3 hours of sleep, you had a pretty crappy night, and then you go and lose 3 buy-ins at the table. That might be related. They're also workshopping some settings where you can integrate mindfulness apps, some things that can kind of relax you if you either go on tilt or if you just need to get in the right mindset before a session. And if you already have an app that you're using, don't worry, they have seamless integration. You can import from a variety of apps. I'll put the listed ones up here, but really endless. And let's say you want to export this to an Excel sheet and send it around or something like that, you can also do that. You can export your data right into a CSV file. It's super seamless. Again, if you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Use my discount codes if you want a sweatshirt or if you want 3 months free on the Left Pocket Bankroll Tracker app. Again, thank you for watching. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, good luck at the tables, guys.